Hey everyone, I'm still setting up. Let's see. I got one more thing to do. I think I did everything. Sorry, I didn't have Discord on the new computer, so I had to download it. Then I couldn't remember my password. And then it said I could scan a QR code from my phone and it would make it work. And it did. And then I had to put all the games in. And I started late because my commentary went till 4:30. And I had to go to the store and car wash and some other stuff. Feed the dogs. So forth. No, I can't play the intro song. Son of a... because we're streaming live on YouTube, so they wouldn't allow that. We'll figure out a way around it, or we won't. We just won't do it anymore. We've been doing it for 3 years, so. Good thing it's water. Thanks everybody for donating to the charity for this afternoon stream. We're going to have a new rule, which mainly only applies to Sit Bear, but it might apply to somebody else. And that's you can't submit more than one game. So don't submit a game and then submit another one and say, if you get time, look at this one. It's one game per customer. This week I let it slide, as I do every other week. But then everybody would start submitting 2 games if it was allowed, and then we'd have 40 games, and people would start doing 3 games, and so forth. The Pterodactyl Open doesn't exist. You made it up. Okay. So nobody's played it. One of my students lost. Probably still gained 100 rating points in that tournament. This stream is about chess. Yeah, that was when we kidnapped Maurice. That was pretty good. So we're still without overhead lights. The electrician's coming in the morning, and then we'll fix all the electrical issues, and it won't be so dark. Although having it dark is pretty cool too. Sometimes nothing is a pretty cool hand. And so on. Yeah, also don't submit games after 6 p.m. These rules have been in place for no reason for years, and you guys don't follow them. Okay, so the first game, and hi to Chess TV. You guys are the best. Just I'm not sure at what. Yeah, I was going to say Nepo got pretty crushed today by Caruana. Really got destroyed. Hi, Ben. God. I hate when there's a paragraph to start the game. Like, can't you just write, here's the game, I suck? From now on, just write that. Everybody. Hi, Ben. Here's a 10+5 game I played recently on Lead Chess. I faced a Dutch-like system, which I often play myself. I decided to take an approach that's always annoying for me as black. What, did you type several paragraphs to your opponent? A large queenside push, and we ended up playing on opposite sides of the board. The engine says I played reasonably, but for most of the game, I was just confused. I'd appreciate some feedback on middle game plans in such positions. Also, ignore me for hanging all my pawns at the end. Okay, so I think white is the person who submitted the game, and it's 10+5. You could ask for a sub, but it's an hour too late to submit your game. You can submit next week. But yeah, you could always ask for a sub. Anyway, anybody who writes that much as a preamble to the game is banned. Okay, and then this is, look at the YouTube, I guess. Never sure what to look at. There's so many things I could look at. You can be banned and subbed. In fact, I recommend that. Okay. Basically, the goal is everybody who watches the stream is banned and subbed. That would be the perfect stream. I can't imagine a better stream. Okay, so the players are 2,300, but that's on Lead Chess, so probably like FIDE or US Chess, that would be about 1,400. And I'm being nice. Okay, so they played Nimzo Indian, which I'm about to publish Chessable course about. Okay, and here white has three moves that grandmasters play: A3, E4, and Knight F3. Play Knight F3, that's what I usually play. Bishop takes C3 is a very unusual move. Because white hasn't played A3, it doesn't double white's pawns. So that just gives white an advantage. So that's the first mistake. But it's only move 5, and typically people on Lead Chess make mistakes between moves 1 and 3. So you can see why they're so high rated. Okay, so queen takes. Knight E4 attacks the queen. It's Lead Chess, so it's worth a try. Queen C2 and F5. So black's like a tempo down in the main line because white hasn't played A3. So white's just better here. Okay, white played E3, which is pretty passive. Since white hasn't played E3 yet, it would make more sense to play G3, bishop G2. The bishop's active on the diagonal. White king is safer. Put pressure on E4 more quickly. E3 is just very passive. Okay, B6 is good. Bishop D3 is okay. Bishop B7. What? Somebody gave money? That never happens. $5. Discord. I don't know what you wrote, but thanks. Let me open up. What am I opening up? Streamlabs. Hi, Ben. My username on Discord is Arc Blossom, and I put my game in PGN Share. Okay, that's the wrong place. I'm also donating because Go Ben. Did I put it in the right place? You do not. You did not put it in the right place. Exclam analysis will explain what to do on Discord, and so forth. But thanks for the $5. So you did good. Okay, back to the game. Black played d6. That's okay. b4 is okay. Knight d7 is okay. a4 is okay. a5 is okay. And Engine really hates b5. But probably in a Blitz game, I would play b5. But it wants to take on a5 because it wants to open up the queen side eventually. And if the queen side is blocked, then black has a free attack on the king side. So if we take, and what black takes with the pawn, then white can open up the queen side. So typically we take with the rook to keep the pawn structure intact. Knight d2 threatens a pawn. And also we could play knight b3 and pawn a5 later. b5 strategically is a mistake because now white can't get any counterplay on the queen side, and black can just start attacking with the rook. Okay, queen e7 is slow, but it's okay. Rook f6 was better. Bishop a3 is also slow. King h you don't understand. Okay, rook c1 is legal. Rook c8 doesn't make any sense. Knight d2 is okay. Knight takes is okay. Queen g5 threatens mate in 1, which I guess is good on Lichess. Bishop f1. Yeah, and now black is too slow. Black should have played rook f6 5 moves ago, not played king h8 and rook c8, which just wasted time. And now white is crashing through on the queen side with c5. That's probably the first good move white played this game. So that's good. Now white's threatening c6. Yeah, and white's crashed through on the queen side. Pawns are both weak. And black doesn't have enough counterplay on the king side. So white's just winning. Yay, Mr. Hosta Mahogi is raiding with a party of 4. That's our biggest raid today. The point of king h8. That move just hangs a piece to queen takes e4. So you can see these ratings are Lichess ratings. White just hung all his pawns because, it's Lichess ratings. 50-50 whether white's technique is good enough. And either black resigned or lost on time here. So I probably have to modify what I said earlier. I said the players were probably about 1,400 FIDE, but after watching that, I would say white's probably 1,400, but black is probably like 800. So anyway, basically my advice is keep playing on lead chess because those are the right opponents for you. But a subpar game, you'd expect more from players with higher ratings like that. But that's the truth hurts. Might make more sense for there to be somebody who does like viewer game analysis who only does things on lead chess so that you can get used to these low rated games. And then if they get a very high rating on lead chess, which would be the equivalent of like 1,000 on chess.com, then they can start playing on chess.com and trying to get the rating up there. Anyway, black is well named because he has Potzer in his name. And I would assume if I did a cap score, both players played in the 30s or 40s. But, there wasn't a lot of blunders from white. Just black made lots of tactical mistakes and strategical mistakes. And, it was a good wood pusher game. Yay, a hype train is close. Let's see. Cute Kitty Cat 2 gifted a sub to Lawful Waffle. Who would give Lawful Waffle a sub? Damn. And Cute Kitty Cat 2 subscribed themselves. Pat6578 subscribed. Good. Anyway, it's games like that made me glad I quit chess, so, I don't have to see such. Anyway, that was, to compliment the players a little bit, even if it's unwarranted, that was the best game I've seen this stream. So that's pretty good. Okay, next game was from Sit Bear. Unfortunately, he's playing NN. And Sit Bear wrote, he said, I'm not actually offering a draw, but would you want one? So I took the draw. So, yeah. The behavior of everybody is unconscionable. Okay, so these players are a little stronger than the last game. These are U.S. chess ratings. White's 1250 and black is 1117. And time control is game in 100, increment 30. Go hype train. I wonder what's going on with the sound. There's no sound coming from the chess.com moves. Squirrel Brain gave 100 bits. S.J. McFarlane gave 101 bits. What's going on with the sound? Let's see. Let's look at... oh, that's Stockfish. What do I want? That's what I want. Play sounds is on. I mean, nothing was changed, so sounds worked and now they don't work. Just go click anytime you make a move. Okay. Click, click. Right. E3 is a bit passive, but okay. Yeah, always refresh. Yeah, maybe that'll fix it. Can't hurt. Oh, I can't refresh because I haven't saved this. Let's see. Select collection. Yeah, I forgot to do that. Viewer game analysis. 825. Yeah, that didn't work. Well, we tried and we failed miserably. The lesson is never try. Okay, so we have a double collie opening named after your favorite Belgian grandmaster, Edgar Colley, and the Infinite Sadness. It says 95 is dubious. That seems perfectly cromulent. I mean, G4 is going too far, but I guess if both players are under 1,300, you can go too far and get away with it. Yeah, white should probably play queen F3 and get their queen involved into the attack. Then play G4, G5. Ooh, 98's a bit passive. Yeah, black can play bishop B7, controlling the E4 square, because in a perfect world, black wants to play knight e4 after white plays g5, which is now not possible because of the insufficient black defense on e4. So developing the bishop and defending e4 gives black a very good game because the knight can go to e4 soon. $5. Yay. Thanks for $5 from Scott P. Go YouTube chat and donations. Yeah, now white has a nice attack on the king's side. Ooh, knight takes e5. Ooh. Yeah, knight takes e5 just helps white. White's attack is irresistible. Yeah, black doesn't have any counterplay. Looking good for white. FG just hangs the e-pawn. Hype train success. Hooray. Okay, so white's +4 here, it says. Right. And I was just going to say, before I made the move for black, that rook takes h7 is a threat. And then if rook h7, queen g6 check. So bishop c8's a blunder. And white just wins immediately with rook takes h7. And then if king takes, we have mate. And if rook takes, we check and take. And white's up 3 pawns and has a mating attack. So instead of sacking a rook, white blundered a rook and played queen takes d5. Well, it doesn't blunder a rook, but it blunders the knight on f3. Bishop b7, which is also I mean, queen takes d5 still wins because we still have our rook takes h7 check trick, which still wins now. And rook f1 was played. Rook h3 also wins. But yeah, rook takes h7, and it's the same deviled egg. White is still winning. Now, white has to play rook takes and bishop e4, skewering the rooks or forking them. And you can't defend. You're going to lose one of them. So rook takes f3 is still winning. Bishop c4 was played. And I guess white wanted to take, and then queen g8 mate. Fortunately, it's black's move. So black correctly defended the bishop. And then took the bishop on e7. And now black is up the exchange for a couple of pawns. And white's king, if anything, is more dangerously placed than black's king. So now black is winning. King d2, making a run for it. King c2, well, that seemed to work out. That's a bad move. Now white's actually doing well. Yeah, bishop d3 would have been a good move. If rook checked, then bishop d2. I probably would have played king b3 myself. Interesting game. White tries to escape. It's funny, after queen f3 attacking the bishop does not have a plethora of squares. But queen d3. Bishop f4 just walks into a fork. You just attack both bishops. So that's silly. Okay, so this is the position where black said, I'm not offering a draw, but if I did offer you a draw, would you take it? And then white accepted the draw offer. So this is what you get when you have very low-rated players playing a serious event. The game just turns into a comedy where it's not even chess anymore. It's just two very low IQ people sitting across from a board making an ass of themselves. And my second wife, her first tournament was a World Open. She's unrated U.S. chess, and probably about 900 on internet. And 9 rounds. It was unrated section. And when the tournament ended, she said to me, I'm never playing in a low-rated section again. I can't handle the way people behave. And high-rated players play chess. They play chess. Occasionally, they analyze the game with each other afterwards. When low-rated players play in a tournament, it's like they're 4 years old and they've never been out in public before. And they just behave very strangely. They make weird noises. They eat things that aren't edible at the board. They kick. They clip their pen. They just do things that a person with an IQ over 70 doesn't do. And it makes it an unpleasant experience for everybody in the tournament. Fortunately, those people, if you can call them people, are amongst themselves. But yeah, if one of them played in a high-rated players section, they would be kicked out of the building because they don't know how to behave in public. And second wife got a big taste of that, of people talking to her during the game, people who were playing her and people who weren't playing her. One person said, I'm playing you, and sat down, and that wasn't her opponent. He was just being silly. One person started eating their styrofoam cup that she was playing. This is all just one tournament. And I'm like, yeah, that's how people behave in the low-rated player sections. And somebody's saying, I'm not offering you draw, but if I did offer you a draw, would you take it? That's another kind of, thing that low-rated players do in low-rated player sections who don't know how to behave in public. It's like every time you go to a movie theater and everybody's making as much noise and on their phone as possible. That's what low-rated player sections are in these big tournaments. So not only are the moves terrible, but the behavior of the players is terrible. So if you are going to go to a big tournament and you want to enjoy yourself, you should always play up sections so you're playing human beings and so forth. Worst experience I had this ilk was there was a lunatic who was actually on the U.S. Chess Executive Board occasionally. His name was Giri Hanken. And unfortunately, he was a life master, so he played in the higher sections. But he behaved like somebody who was in an asylum, but the kind of asylum where you're not trying to change citizenship, the Trump kind of asylum where you're having liver with a nice Chianti. And my opponent spoke the whole game. He talked the whole game. He talked to himself. He talked to me. He talked to people who were walking by. And it didn't matter whose move it was. He was talking. And it was a very bad experience for me because I'm trying to play chess and my opponent's acting like an ass. And I eventually won the game. One point in the game, he said, "I'm too tired to finish the game. Just tell me what the result's going to be, and we'll just say that." And I said, "Quiet." I said several times. Yeah, I remember I was in IM and I was like 26, 50 feet, a USCF. And he was like, "Oh, I thought I'd play a GM in the first round." Like, this is during the game. So upset he got paired with me. Sam Sloan is also crazy. Sam Sloan was on the executive board, strangely enough. But I've seen him play in tournaments. He just sits there and looks weird. He doesn't say anything. No, it's a tournament with 600 people, 700 people. My dad played in the U.S. Open in 1992 in Dearborn, Michigan. Unfortunately, this gentleman I'm referring to, Giri Hanken, he was sitting next to him in his game end and he started talking a lot about the game. And my dad said, "Could you be quiet? Like, we're playing a tournament game here." And Hanken kept talking. And my dad said, "Be quiet again." And Hanken said, "I can analyze here if I want. I'm a chess player." Like in the tournament room next to him while they're playing. Yeah. And my favorite Hanken story, which is everybody's favorite Hanken story, he was on the executive board and he was arguing with other members of the executive board during an executive board meeting. And he stood up and he shook his fist because he was furious. And while he was doing that, his pants fell down. And they referred to the incident as fists up, pants down. Then they broke for lunch. And when they came back, he apologized to the board. And when they came back from lunch, he was wearing pants. Anyway, his behavior in general was unconscionable. Also, he was a probation officer in real life, Giri Hanken. He was a big guy. He was a large man. He was overweight and very tall. So he was scary looking. Anyway, that's the good old days of U.S. chess. Now they just treat women poorly. Anyway, in the final position, black is winning if he plays queen f5 instead of sort of offering a draw, maybe. I'm not sure if he offered a draw or he meant to, but etc. Well, Randy is still on the board, but yeah, he's probably not going to be on the board much longer. Is the stream over yet? No? Darn. All right, I guess I'm supposed to analyze viewers' games. Okay, that was one of the top 2 games today. Hi, Ben. This was a slow game on chess.com. I was white. Please advise me how to deal with these advanced French positions. Also, go Ben and Karen. And this is from Stuckfish 2. You played the advanced French, and then you're like, help, it's the advanced French. All right. Can't argue with that. I could. So our hero's white. Both players are rated about 1,000. And time control is, I guess, a move every day. Daily game. I think. Okay, so far good. Knight h6 is okay. You can take the knight on h6, or you cannot take the knight on h6. Chose not to, that's fine. That's probably what I would play. That move's okay. You can also take on c5 and then castle. Probably something I would do. That's just a blunder. So I like the way I made a move and it made a noise, and then I moved back and it didn't make a noise. It just made a noise for that one move. Whose fault is this? My speakers, my sound system on the computer, or chess.com? How can I make a move and it makes a noise and then other moves don't make noises? It's not consistent. So when somebody plays queen b6 in the advanced French, or when they play queen b6 in any opening, they're putting pressure on d4 and b2. And your d4 pawn is not sufficiently defended at the moment, so you should play d takes c5. And your b2 pawn is sufficiently defended, and you undefended it, giving up your queen side. So you can't let somebody take on b2 and wipe out your queen side. That's a tactical mistake, and you didn't see queen takes b2, or you wouldn't have played bishop e3. So in these kinds of positions, if you're worried about losing your d pawn, which here you should be, then you should take on c5. And then Engine says white has a nice position. Yeah, my birthday is the day that Magnus plays Hans in Paris. And I'd like to point out, slightly confusing, but only slightly. Hans tweeted today, and he said he's looking for sponsors for the match with Magnus. Now, he's winning prize money for playing these matches, so he's getting paid to do so, but I guess he wants to get paid more. Sounds reasonable. So if you're interested in sponsoring the match, I'm not sure what that means, you can contact Hans on Twitter by DMing him and saying, I'm interested in sponsoring. I would guess if you're trying to sponsor for less than $1,000, then don't bother. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'll take $500 sponsorships. I would assume the minimum is 500 or 1,000. That's my assumption. Could be it's more than that. I don't know. A lot of people are like, I'll give $2. Terrible sponsors. Yeah, so if you want to sponsor Hans and you're serious and you have lots of money, you can contact him on Twitter by DMing him and saying, I want to help sponsor the match, and see what they want to do. Mayora 1988 gifted a sub. Thank you. Not sure if giving a sub on my channel is sponsoring Hans's match, but if you keep doing it, then that's good anyway. It's like sponsoring a golf tournament. You're helping give the people who are involved on the talent side of the issue, who are playing the game or the sport, get more money. So for example, let's say you wanted Kasparov to play a match with Carlsen because you want to watch Kasparov play a match with Carlsen. Maybe you don't, but maybe you do. And let's say you have lots of money. Then you contact representatives and say, I have lots of money. Would you guys play a match? And if the money is enough, they will both say yes, and you'll get your wish. So some people may be interested in seeing Hans play a match with Magnus. Now, they're already playing the match, but maybe you want to get involved, and you want Hans to shout you out and say that your company or your personage is a sponsor of the match, and thank you for helping him do well in the match by hiring coaches and preparing for the match by using your money. There's a lot of people in the world who are multimillionaires and billionaires. They can sponsor any of those matches if they wanted to, but typically they don't want to. For example, if you said to Magnus and Kasparov, I'll give you each $500,000 if you play a match, they would both say no. But if you said, I'll give both of you $10 million to play a match, then they would both say yes. And there's some number in the middle where they both say yes, where you save money. I'm not sure what that number is. I just know 500,000 is too little and 10 million is plenty enough. And, probably Hans is looking for an extra $5,000 to $10,000 so he can refer to his sponsors and people that helped him on the way to him becoming world champion. And if you want to be a Hans fan and be in that kind of spotlight, you can do it. He's offering you to do it. $1 million, probably they'd both decline, Kasparov and Carlsen. But it's possible one of them would accept, but I don't think so. Probably $1 million is too small. But 10 million, I think you could get it set up. No, they would have to have some kind of odds. They can't just play straight up because Kasparov would lose every game in any time control. They'd have to do something funny. Like if they played a 5-minute match where Magnus spotted a different pawn every game, I mean, Magnus would win, but that would make the match closer. If he spotted a piece, I think Kasparov would win. And I think if he spotted a pawn, then Magnus would win. So there has to be some middle ground where he spots more than a pawn, or maybe just pawn and move and take off the F pawn, because that's pretty terrible. Kasparov's not chess boxing anybody. You guys don't understand what it's like to be old. When you're old, you're not boxing anybody. Kasparov probably can't even move. And Magnus is in his prime. Magnus would knock him unconscious in 10 seconds. Yeah, Magnus doesn't think Hans got signals from the cameraman. This was discussed months ago. Magnus said, and he's correct, if all of a sudden the cameraman comes to the game, it could be that that's a critical point in the game and that somebody has a good move or somebody's winning, and that could give help to the players. So, like maybe the producer's like, hey, some grandmaster said Hans just blundered, get your camera on that game now. Or Magnus just blundered, let's go look at the game. Magnus didn't say that the cameraman was cheating and helping Hans. But it's nuanced, and this was discussed months ago, and people on the internet just say stuff, so then it becomes internet fact, which in 100% of the cases is false. Everything you hear on the internet about anything is false. For example, you may have heard that RFK Jr. and Trump are reasonable people. Somebody may have said that, but that's false. They should both be in jail. You think Kasparov would score 25% versus Magnus in straight-up games? Yeah, thinking's not your strong suit. See, that was on the internet, so that's wrong. Kasparov would score 0%. Not as good as 25%. Every week or two, there's a crazier story about RFK Jr., that he did something very strange, or that he is very strange. Like something weird that doesn't apply to other people. Like you could say something weird like he wears different colored socks, but like half the people do that. So nobody cares. But he does stuff like cut whales' heads up and run over animals and bring them somewhere else and other things that are very strange. He just does strange things that nobody else has ever done. Yeah, the brainworms was weird too. He rescued a roadkill bear. Yeah, that's what he did. FretGod99 subscribed at tier 1. Good. Kasparov would get destroyed by Carlsen in a slow game. Yeah, I've known Nate Solon for 35 years. I don't even think he's 35 years old. Yeah, Nate Solon grew up in Michigan, so I know him and his dad. His dad is a political science professor. I'm sorry, his dad's an economics professor, which I've talked to him about because I was an economics student at one point. Is RFK related to JFK? Oh! In a Blitz match between you and Kramnik, who would win? You guys on the internets are very interested in hypothetical matches that can or cannot take place. You're like, if Morphy came back and he played an IM rated 2430, what would the score be? It's like you're all just little children. You think of something and then you say it on the internet instead of keeping it to yourself. You're asking if one of the 20 greatest players who ever lived played Blitz with an old man, what would the score be? I mean, obviously I'd win, but you don't know that. Speaking of 100 horses, I like the television show that's on Apple Plus called Slow Horses. It's a British show. It's about MI5 and murder and comedy and intrigue. And most importantly, it stars Gary Oldman. Yeah, thinking is not your strong suit. Read the books. You're banned. No reading. Ooh, Hans being the arbiter is a good idea. Anyway, the chat's making a lot of sense today. How many people are watching on YouTube? 97. Not bad. Okay, let's continue with the game. I forgot how we got off on a tangent, but I'm reasonably sure it was my fault. Okay, after bishop e3, hanging the queen side, black instead played knight f5. Going from a winning position to a worse position. White, instead of taking the knight and then saving his b-pawn, played knight bd2. Sometimes I think people who submit games just make up the games, make sure both sides play quite badly, and then see me rage. I think that's what's happening. I don't think these are real games. White's hanging his b-pawn, and black's like, nah, I don't want that. Okay, so black took on d4, white took on d4, and black played knight takes d4, losing the game immediately. And instead of playing the obvious knight takes, knight b3, and then black is lost, the engine says white's +4, white played quite an unusual move in this position. Knight rook b1. Okay. Bishop c5. That's a good move. Knight takes loses immediately. After bishop takes, black is a pawn ahead and can look forward to, in the next 5 or 6 moves, winning this e-pawn. Instead, black played knight takes d4, an obvious tactical error, losing the game immediately. Instead of winning the game by playing the move b4, then black can resign. If black takes with the bishop, many moves win. Knight b3, a3, and if the bishop moves away, then knight b3 wins as before. So b4 just wins in one move, and that's removing the defender, and knight's pinned, and so forth. Instead, king h1 was played. Okay, then castles, allowing b4 again. Instead, black should play knight c6 and get out of this mess. Queen g4. b4 was winning. Now black is better because black's up a pawn. Now black's up 2 pawns, but white has great compensation because black's queen is so badly placed. And in this position, white should play queen b4, which closes the trap on the black queen, and the engine prefers white because the black queen is going to have a hell of a time getting out of there. And instead, white played b4, too late. Rook a1. What's funny in this position is the engine wants to play the totally insane knight takes e6. And then after f takes e6, we play rook c7, threatening bishop takes f5 and queen takes checkmate. And after rook f7, white has more than sufficient compensation for the piece. Or actually just sufficient. King e8 walks into mate, and g6 walks into queen takes h7, and white's winning. So king f8 is the only move. And after queen h7, chances for both sides. But instead, I mean, that's crazy. White played rook a1, queen d2, all of white's pieces are attacked, rook d1, and bishop f5 just loses instantly. The knight's hanging, and after bishop f5, ef5, the queen's hanging and the knight. So white's tactical acumen this game was not on display. I guess we cannot resign by playing knight d3. Or you could take that. After taking on f5, knight d3 takes, and black is up 2 pawns and is winning. But taking on c5 also wins. Rook b1, that just loses a piece to pawn takes bishop. Yeah, this just wins a piece. Queen's attacked and we've taken a piece. I don't understand why white didn't save his bishop. And I guess the rest of the game probably wasn't so interesting. Mate. So that game had a lot of tactical errors. Both sides could have improved at one material at various points. So the opening didn't really matter. What matters is you have a better tactical eye and see when you can capture pieces and see when your opponent can capture pieces. And hopefully when your opponent gives their pieces away, you take them. And when you give your pieces away, your opponent doesn't take them. However, you should not give your pieces away. And so forth. It's trying to learn. Okay, next game. We have our usual Clark from San Francisco area showing the game that he played. This is the Jeremy Silman Memorial. Game 90 plus 30. And Clark lost to a 1200 player. Very suspicious. Hybed, disappointing game this week. I tunneled on a pretty mating attack and stopped focusing on my opponent's counterplay. Ended up losing a painful one. Okay, and this is game 90 plus 30. Usually Clark plays better than his rating. This game was not the same. $5 from Camus. I'm waiting for the $5 donation. Is poker easier than chess? Chess has lots of complicated calculations that give me a headache. Poker looks like more fun. They're complicated in different ways because they're different games. You can play them both and see which one you like better. That's a personal choice. Okay. So C3 Sicilian. Okay, in my course, I recommend knight c6 and bishop f5. In my Sicilian course, which I play on stream a lot, knight f6 is what I used to play. And this is what I used to play with black. Yeah, typically in this position, black plays e6 to make it harder for white to play d5. But this is playable. Now the engine wants to play queen f5. d7's okay. Black is doing okay here. Yeah, now bishop d6 makes more sense to blockade the d pawn. But bishop e7's okay. And this is about equal. Yeah, and that's a mistake because black can just take and play f5. Yeah, so now black's better. Black seizes the initiative. Yeah, this is very bad position for white. Yeah, white's strategically lost here. that move is okay in winning. I would prefer taking this and weakening the c-pawn, but this is okay. The idea is if you take on d4, bishop f6 wins the exchange. I would still take on d4. I wouldn't allow d3. So here the players are earning their ratings. White rated 1200 and he's completely lost. Down a piece. And the rest is easy. I won't bore you with, oh, black didn't win? Okay. Yeah, I would play bishop c5, but bishop d6 is winning, so can't complain. f3 is very weakening. It weakens e3. Bishop can park there, or the rook. f3 is a bad move. Black's just up a piece and winning. So far, black's technique is excellent. And that move is a blunder because now white gets to push his pawns on the queen side. Easily winning was just to take the queen, getting rid of the connected passed pawns, and then playing rook d6. But black decided a long time ago he was going to crash through on the king side and give checkmate and not just win in a simple way. Also winning is rook d8. After queen e7, d6 is a blunder. White can play c5, and actually the engine says it's equal. And this is actually quite funny. Looks like black can't play rook takes d6, which he can precisely play, because after rook takes d6, queen takes d6 loses to queen takes rook, but we have bishop c5 threatening queen e1 mate, also threatening bishop takes rook on d6, and this is completely winning. If we stop both threats with rook d1, then queen e3 threatens queen g1 mate, and white has to give up his queen and just be losing. So rook takes d6 was winning if black had found bishop c5. That's super complicated, but it begs the question, why did black play queen e7 if d6 is such an obvious retort, unless black saw rook takes d6 was winning, which he didn't. So, okay, queen d8, that's also a mistake. Queen e6 is still equal, and now white's winning. c5, queen d5 check first was better. Now these pawns are too strong. Too strong. And c7 wins, which he played. And black resigned. So yeah, you described the game pretty well. You were completely winning, and you forgot about your opponent's counterplay, were focused, one-dimensional checkmating for black, and your opponent's counterplay got too strong. I mean, your opponent had two connected passed pawns, and they weren't dangerous, but they became dangerous. So you have them stopped, and all you need to do to win is stop them, but you got overconfident with some mating attack on the king side, which didn't come to fruition. And yeah, this was the chance to just take and play rook d6, and just white has nothing. Play rook d8 and move your king up. This pawn's going to fall, and you're just up a piece. Slow and steady wins the race. Now, if it was a blitz game, I would also be trying to sack on h3 and playing like a maniac. But if it's a slow game, then I take the easy way out and just win the piece up endgame. And this is why Kasparov can never beat Carlsen. And I don't mean Magnus Carlsen either. Pontus Carlsen. there's two grandmasters named Carlsen, and the stream that I did today with Maurice, the organizer of the charity event was Pontus Carlsen, who's a Nordic grandmaster. You started a sentence with wait again. Just stop doing that. Okay, we need 83 subs. What else? Then we'll have 800 subs. Okay, we're halfway done. Now, this game, for some reason, was submitted by White, even though White didn't have the game score. He couldn't read his writing after move 21 and just said the game went on a long time. I've never been so mad at Bonarici or cared so little. It is unfortunate that after move 21, I only see weird scribblings like Bishop E3, RE, BR, RCZ, me. So I think we can only trust the game score to move 20 or 21. I can't make any more comments because I can't remember. This game was played long ago. This game was played in 1990 between Bonarici and Midwestern IM from Ohio, Calvin Blocker, who about 2 years ago, I did Great Players of the Past. Calvin's still alive, and I would guess he's in his early 70s, if I had to guess. If I didn't have to guess, then he would be in his late 60s. The Braves did not win. They lost. They lost 5-1. Terrible. The Braves are banned. Also, the Braves never score any runs. I guess because all their players are injured. So I'll give them a break. Yeah, Stu said he's coming back into chess. I'm not sure he's even better than you, C.L. Smith. He doesn't realize how rusty he's going to be. Anaxagora 70 subscribed. Good, good. I once went to a casino in Michigan, and Calvin Blocker was there. It was the Greektown Casino. It was about 30 years ago. What is my favorite movie? You're banned for asking that question. It's either One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Godfather 1, Godfather 2, or Pulp Fiction. Put them in any order you want. Okay, so we have Bonarici Blocker. Blocker always played the Caro-Kann. This is the old main line from the 80s. I'm not sure if they play H4 here or Knight GE2. I think Knight GE2, Knight F4 is the main line. You know, from 40 years ago. Yeah, this already seems good for black. This is definitely good for black. Already White is strategically lost. And should be ashamed of himself. And Knight F5 is a mistake. Black should play C5, Knight C6, Queen B6 as early as possible. Now White's okay. Ooh, D takes C5. Ooh. Yeah, here White should play Knight E2 and try to play C3 and solidify his center. Yeah, now the game's basically over. Ugh, should have F4. Getting on the F file. Terrible. Bonarici, you play like a 2300 on Lichess. Threatening Knight F3 check with advantage. Queen E8 defending the F pawn and preparing Queen F7. Queen F5 is winning. Attacking the rook and the E pawn. D4 is very strong. And it says bishop takes D4, which is fine. I assume you took with the queen. Yeah, and with the king on E1, this is just losing. C5 wins, rook A D8, and I assume queen takes C2 is also winning. And the white king just is in terrible danger, and these 4 pawns are all quite weak. And black's king is perfectly safe on H7 the rest of the game. So a strategical masterpiece from Blocker, which is what he's known for, getting these positions and outplaying his opponent. Pathetic try from white, back to the drawing board. Godfather 2 is terribly overrated. You're banned. And your children's children. Godfather 2 is probably better than 1. That's possible, which it is. It's funny, Robert De Niro tried out for Sonny. It's a good thing he wasn't Sonny. James Caan was a good Sonny. Braveheart's like a C+ at best. When next time you go to the nursing home, tell your brother Braveheart not so good. It's Tony Rotella. White plays like Godfather 3. Do you like The Sopranos, Ben? Who doesn't like The Sopranos? In the Godfather movie, Marlon Brando was like 45 years old, but they made him look like he was about 70. Anyway, if you don't like The Godfather or Godfather 2, then you're banned. If you don't like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, you're extra banned. You even have banned in your name. Eduardo banned. Okay, next game. I assume white submitted it because black's name was opponent. Thanks to some typical chess.com 1500 nonsense, I ended up with a terrible bishop. Without much time left at the end, I thought I was doomed. Doomed. Luckily, my opponent did some 1500 nonsense of his own, and somehow got his rook stuck in the middle of the board. It was stuck in the middle with you. Now you know why I like Pulp Fiction. Oh, wait, is that Reservoir Dogs? That's Reservoir Dogs. Which left him down a piece in the end game. Or at least it felt like it. The engine doesn't agree, but who cares? Ugh. So both players are around 1500, and this game was a 15-minute with a 10-second increment, played on chess.com. What about Reservoir Itchy? Boo! So this move is a known mistake. You take on d5 and play queen b3, as I've discussed many times on stream. You played knight h4. Boo! Bishop g6 also not very good. Bishop f4 nonsensical. Knight bd7 terrible. Take on c4. e3 is a good move. First good move of the game. Wait, now the players are really picking up the pace. Yeah, queen takes b6 is always wrong. And now black's better. Solid. Solid as a rock. That's what this rook is. Yeah, black has bishop b4, knight e4. The rooks are on open files already. Better for black. Never play f3. Knight h5 is playable. I'm not sure why you would play it after bishop h2. The point of it was. f5 was the point? That's no good. Now white's better. Nice position for white. And f4 is a terrible move. Gives away the e4 square. Yeah, just rook e1 defending the e-pawn. Later, white can play for e4 or g4. Probably g4. This move just gives away the e4 square, so either knight can go to e4, and this knight can't go to e5 because it takes too long. You can play knight e2 to g1 to f3, or knight d1 to b2, move the bishop, knight d3. That just takes forever. King f3, terrible. Now black is much better. Bishop on h2 is frankly ridiculous. Pawn was on f3, g4 could be played, and we open up our bishop while still controlling the e4 square and putting pressure on f5. I hope f4 that white is ashamed of himself. Oh, h4. Oh, my God. Oh, no, say it ain't so. Jesus, giving up every square and cementing your bishop's death. You won this game? How'd you win the game without your bishop? God, f4, h4. Oh, white thought he was playing checkers. You guys don't donate enough for me to look at the games like this. I'm taking these ratings and I'm putting them on Lee Chess. Terrible. I've never been so angry or cared so little. Knight g4, bishop g1. Man, black's working on his knight moves. That just loses the game immediately to a tactic which I'm sure neither player saw. Yeah, in this position, look at this nifty tactic. We take and check, threatening the pawn. The problem is, if we play king f3 defending the pawn, then we take on b4, and white's position just totally collapses. White loses everything. So, completely lost for white. And if you play king e2, then we play bishop f6. This pawn is indefensible, and if you defend the indefensible, then I can take this, or take this first if you want to get cute. And again, white loses everything. White loses every pawn. Now, nobody's going to see knight takes and knight here, and this is weak, because this bishop is so stupid. Okay, bishop d6. Now black's obviously threatening check. Knight g4 check, resigns. And white didn't see it. You know, this pawn's weak. So you have to play rook e1. Your pawn's really weak. And now this just very easy win. And then white loses every pawn on the board. It's like plus 1,000. Instead, bishop c7, terrible. Again, knight takes knight g4 check, wins. Now, black's better, but not winning. The knight finally gets to e5, and it's equal. Engine still prefers black. And after c4, it says white's close to winning. It wants black to play b6 and keep the pressure up here on all these pawns. And instead, after c4, white takes the b file. The d pawn is weak. The b pawn is weak. The rook on e4 is trapped. So now white is close to winning. And white could have just played rook b1 and taken the pawn on b7. But he played a4. That's good. The rook on e4 is just trapped. The engine doesn't play... Oh, if rook takes, this pawn queens. I was wondering why I couldn't just take and queen. Knight b8? God damn. Any move is better than knight b8, like resigning. Okay, then he resigned. So that wasn't a good game. White made lots of strategical and tactical errors. Black took advantage of none of them. And eventually, White did play knight e5 equalizing, and Black with the rook trapped on e4 wasn't able to escape. Earlier in the game, Black should have played g5, and if takes rook g4, and gotten his rook out of dodge. But instead, he just kept it there. So both sides made sure their pieces were terrible and just basically ruined my day. That was the whole point of this game, was to make me feel bad. It sounds like you like the channel. I don't think that's a copy pasta. That seems like, the most disgusting person on Twitch. That means you haven't been on Twitch a lot. Yeah, your opinions are terrible and I am superior. That's correct. Ridiculize isn't a word. You meant ridicule, but maybe English isn't your first language. The other stuff is just insults. I'm very charismatic. I may be fat and ugly, but I'm not uncharismatic. You're banned and your children's children are banned for 3 months. Anyway, everything that guy said is terrible, except the stuff that was true. You could VIP him and ban him. That's my favorite. I mean, some people have mental illness and they can't really take the stream. All right, now this is Sit Bear, and he's submitting another game. Boo, boo. And he's always playing NN. Game 25, delay 5. Let's see what he says about the game. Since you've only got a few submissions, here's another one. Like many dual-rated games, this one is very stupid. See notes. Do I have to see the notes? What did I do wrong in my life? Okay, so Sit Bear is white. Second game of the stream. F4, F5, confusing the audience. D3 is a little weakening, but I'll give him a break. All right, these moves aren't terrible. White's slightly better. Knight d7's a little passive. G4, god damn. So one of the points of knight d7, which White was oblivious to, was the f4 pawn is now attacked. It's a discovered attack. And White played g4, and Black just takes it. So now Black's winning. Yeah, Sit Bear should sit on his hands and not move so quickly. G1. Ugh. Bishop d7 question mark? I mean, that seems okay. Bishop g5 forcing king b1. Always play king b1. Now it says the game's equal. Well, that doesn't make any sense. It gives the pawn away and Black doesn't want to trade bishops. Black has the 2 bishops. F1 seems okay. b6 I don't understand. Bishop f6 walks into all kinds of pins and forks and skewers and double attacks and zugzwangs and zwischenzugs and, decoys and deflections. and unguarded king and weak dark squares. It does all of that. Okay, e5, bishop f6, worst move, one of the worst moves of the stream today. Simply losing a piece. He's not NN for nothing. He earned his NN title. 92? That doesn't matter, he's up a piece. Bam! Rook takes f4, triple exclamation point. If he doesn't say so himself. Threatening rook d1 check. Why is that dubious? Just because white mate's black? Yeah, rook g5 check is just mate. But there's nothing wrong with what white did. And black resigned. Yeah, that wasn't a good game. Black was winning, and then black made the game equal, and then black played bishop f6, pinning his own bishop when his queen was attacked, overlooking g5 and e5. I understand overlooking one, although I don't, but overlooking them both, terrible. He did prove his status of NN. Did that guy become a VIP yet? Did he give 100 subs to the channel? Where'd that guy go? That's probably the guy who cheated against me yesterday. He's furious. I know you banned him. Okay, we're getting to the end of the nitty-gritty here. This was a white piece blitz game I played during one of your recent viewer tournaments. I'm surprised that somehow I won and need you to explain why. Sizzle them juices won against grind like a potser. I can almost read. Almost. According to this, white is 1600 and black is 2347. God damn. That's a pretty big upset, 700 plus points. So this will be the game of the week. The more you donate, the funnier my analysis will be. Yeah, I remember this guy from the tournament too. I can't roast, animals because I'm a vegan, but I can roast people on my stream. It's the only thing I can roast. Some people can't handle the truth. One of my students played in the Atlantic Open, and he was paired up all 5 games, and he had 3.5 out of 4, and he lost in the last round for first place. But he still must have gained like 60, 70 rating points. 3.5 out of 4 against people rated 200 plus points higher. I just started teaching him like 4 weeks ago too. 5 weeks ago. Go, my students. Yeah, roasted potatoes are good. I've been taking students for about 6 months. I have enough students currently. I heard that line in Jack Nicholson voice. Oh. Jack Nicholson, what's the word? When you make up a line as you're saying it in a movie? Ad-libbed. He ad-libbed the line where he said, "A little dab will do you." That was funny. In One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, obviously. Also, at the time, he was dating, I think, Angelica Houston, somebody like that, and she's in the movie for 3 seconds. The scene where they go out on a boat and they all claim that they're doctors, she's like watching the sea with a friend of hers, like as an extra. I didn't hear that he ad-libbed Here's Johnny, but that sounds like something he would do. Yeah, they gave it to James Caan, right? Yeah, he would have been very good in Misery. James Caan was good. And then the guy who ran the hospital in the movie was a hospital administrator. He wasn't an actor. And they're like, all right, you run the hospital. That's what you do anyway. Okay, let's see Sizzle Them Juices with the huge upset. Always play F3. All right, this is still theory. White's better. Knight G8's just terrible. You got to play Knight FD7. He played this fine against me too. I just didn't play F3. Knight G8's bad. C6 is ridiculous. C6? Terrible. Yeah, the reason he played C6 was he wanted to check and take the pawn, but didn't want to allow bishop B5. So white should just play F4, knight F3 with the winning position. This is still bad for black, even though black wins the D pawn. Still a bad position for black. So the point of E6, I think, is if he wants to take, he could check, but the queen's defended. So E6 makes no sense, and now black's winning. Okay, that makes no sense. We just take on E6 and we're 2 pawns up. It's a 3-minute game. The engine says it's equal now. Da, 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 da. It's equal now. Queen takes B2, and then white is in chains. Alice in chains. Doesn't take the free pawn. You guys never take free pawns. Oh, he doesn't do it again. Put it in H. Yeah, the bishop on B7 is bad. The king is bad. Knight F5 is coming. White is for choice. Yeah, white's playing well. Now white's winning. White has a vicious attack. Knight G4 was immediately winning. It says +9. The queen has nowhere to go. And white plays queen H7 and so forth. This blocks the queen from going to H7, so now white is just much better. That gives up the only good thing that black had. Bishop takes F2 is terrible. Rook E6 is winning because if you trade rooks, the queen is pinned to the king. And the rook is forking here and infiltrating black's position. Rook E6 just wins. There's a crazy tactic here that only a computer would see. Bishop F7 check. If queen takes, we take. And after king takes, we have rook E6. Or we could mouse slip. And this is winning for white. That's crazy. Nobody would see that. Even in a slow game, nobody would see that. And rook D7 is a blunder. Rook F8's forced, and white's only slightly better. Now rook E8 check ends the game. Sort of obviously ends the game. Yeah, rook D7 is a real blunder. Black was more concerned in this position with rook E7. That's why he played here. And he forgot about rook E8 check. Now the game is over. Black loses the queen. Black played on because it's a 3-minute game. And now we're threatening queen E6 mate. And if you play rook D6, seems like the obvious move, then queen E7 check wins the rook. So black resigned. That was pretty brutal. White was winning or better like 85% of that game. It seemed like white was the better player. Black was too concerned with nonsense and not getting this bishop to a good square. And black made too many queen moves, and the king was exposed. So white just outplayed black and was a deserved winner. That was the game of the century. Word salad sounds good. What kind of dressing? First he was immoral, then he was amoral, and now he's immortal. I think 2000 was the last century. Yay, anonymous gifter gave 5 subs. He gained 6 billion rating points. Thanks, Anonymous. You're the best. You're the anonymousist. I would never do video game streams unless somebody sponsored them. Did you see 6 more games got submitted after the stream started? Yeah, I don't care about those. Rurf May 630 subscribed. You're supposed to submit by 6 o'clock. Go trying to learn. A hype train is close. Go hype train. We got Refmade subscribing. We have Anonymous Gifter gifting 5 subs, etc. $2 on YouTube. Yay, louder and funnier. Thanks for $2. I don't know any video games, so I don't know. No, the games that get submitted too late, they're just in the ether. You're supposed to submit the games the day of until 6 p.m. Those games will never be looked at ever. Never. By anybody. Yeah, that was a good game. White just outplayed Black and won. Okay, last game that was submitted in... Well, this was submitted late too, but I'll give him a break. I'm submitting this game played by a friend of mine. Boo! Boo! Sick brag saying he has friends. Because it's his birthday. We're both longtime Ben Feingold fans, but my friend only recently started playing more chess. I thought he played a nice game here. Yet wait till I get done talking about it. Happy birthday, Sam, who is black here on chess.com. Both players are 1100 something. And Black won very quickly. It was a 10-minute game. Good marker. Another game. Go hype train. We need a hype train. People of the world, join in. Join the hype train. Hype train. How do you submit a game? Impossible. Trying to learn 200 bits. It's time for the hype train. Squirrel brained 100 bits. More hype train. Yay, Toph BBQ gifted 5 subs. Good. Good. I also streamed earlier today for 4.5 hours, and we had to do an hour of setup on Zoom, so it's been a fun day so far. Uncle Kev Dog gave 100 bits. We're only 72 subs away. If anybody gives 72 subs to get us to 800, I promise you in the afterlife, 72 virgins. The problem is they're all guys who are computer programmers. But, you know, still. That's right, Toph. Man, you guys like those 72 virgins, as long as they're programmers. That's right, Spaghetti Mercury. Okay, last game. Black is our hero. So far, so good. E6 is less common than knight b6, but it's fine. Still theory. Should be 4 checks a little unusual. Typically, and we want to take with the knight also. We want to play knight d6 and get our knight to e4. So queen takes doesn't give white big chance for an advantage. Yeah, this is pretty equal. It says a6 is dubious, but it's okay. a4 is dubious. That just weakens the b4 square. Yeah, and a5 weakens b5. But a5 is okay. Problem is, earlier white wanted to put the knight on d6. Now white can try to play the rook on d6 and double rooks. So white's still better. fe1's a little slow. Now the bishop can go to c6. Good. And it's equal again. Ooh, you shouldn't go there. Yeah, you got to get your rooks out. Rook here. Just take back with the knight. It's too passive. Yeah, that's not good because we could just take it and knight d6 is impossible. No, we don't allow knight d6. Okay, now white's better finally. Threatening mate. Always play... Oh, no. Always play bishop f1. This move's okay. Still white's better because the knight's on d6. Queen d3 walking into knight f4 isn't good, but white's still okay. Well, not after that. Yeah, white needs to play queen e3. And then Engine says white is a tiny bit better. But after queen d4, now black is better. And king h2 is just a blunder because if the queen's on e3, f2's defended, and the queen's attacking the queen, we'd get the same position after queen e3. But in this position, we could take on f2, which is brilliant because if queen takes, black has mate in 2. So king h2, white should have played king f1. Black brilliantly found knight takes f2. Queen takes just hangs mate on h1. So now the game is over. White took anyway, and then checkmate. Very good game, especially considering both players were under 1200. White only made 1 or 2 mistakes. Black only made 1 or 2 mistakes. They were very minor. So great game by Black. Good thing he's a fan. That's probably why he won. Ref May 630 gifted a sub to Cream Pie Panda. Very suspicious names. And that's the end of the hype train. Level 4 is pretty good. Those were pretty interesting games today. A couple of good games at the end. Black playing brilliantly and checkmating white, even though white had the knight ensconced on d6, as opposed to ensconced in velvet. Okay, and since we have 10 minutes left, I want to show you the biggest beatdown of the day. And it wasn't Karen beating me down, although I do like that. It was in the gameplay today between Fabiano Caruana with the black pieces versus Jan Nepomniachtchi. Jan has changed the pronunciation of his last name to Jan Nepomniachtchi because that's how he got beat today. Wonder if I can use one of our old... Probably not. I'll try. Analysis multiple... Well, that didn't do it. Chess.com... Puzzles, live chess. Yeah, I can fix this one, I guess, so I don't ruin the other ones. Let's see. Oh, my video's not even there? Yeah, who needs video? I literally don't care. Yeah, this scene needs a lot of improving. I'm trying to figure out how to do something. Wait, why is live chess messed up? Oh, because I'm on the other one, stupid one. All right, I'm just gonna change this and then change it back. That sounds like the quickest thing to do. Okay, and then I'll just bring it back. Okay, this is a game. Fabiano was black against Jan Nepomniachtchi today. Yeah. So they transpose into a regular dragon variation eventually. Yeah, and when I'm black here, I play bishop d7, knight takes d4, b5. And he played queen a5, which I don't know. And white played slightly strange, but not terrible, queen d3, which allows knight e5 with tempo, but it's okay. So it's like a regular dragon, except black's a tempo ahead, because white's played queen d3, queen d2. And black's play queen a5, which doesn't have the greatest reputation. But it looks like a dragon. Okay, so just very typical. White is slightly better. Knight b3, reasonable. The engine actually prefers knight c to e2. Well, that's the wrong board. Knight c to e2, and says white is slightly better. But knight b3 looks more natural to me. Queen a6, bishop d4 is good, rook c8, and in this position, white made the losing move. The engine says queen g5 is all zeros, and queen e2 is very slightly better for black. But if you're a dragon player from either color, and you have dragons a lot, you gotta like black's position. Black has all his pieces on the attack. White hasn't played h4, h5 yet. Black has the two bishops. Black can play b5, b4. I mean, Engine says it's equal, but I mean, this is a dragon lover's dream. And here White made the losing move. Black has a threat which White didn't see, and White exacerbated the threat by playing g5, which just loses the game to knight takes e4, which for somebody like Jan Nepomniachtchi, this should be very easy. And the idea is, if you take with the knight, which he didn't do, you play rook takes d4, and knight takes d4 runs into checkmate. And otherwise, Black is a pawn up with two bishops. I mean, and Black has all the attack. Rook a4's coming, and all these pawns can get attacked by the bishops and rooks and queen. White has no attack. So that loses very simply. So he took with a pawn, bishop takes, knight takes, and rook c3 with the same, it's the same deviled egg. It's the same tactic. And if you take the rook, for example, this is just checkmate. And if you take the bishop, which is what I would do if I was playing, then rook takes c2 is completely winning. And White has two ideas here. White can take the rook and go into this lost position because this is hanging, this is hanging, this is hanging, and it's check. So there's not much for White to do. Could save the a pawn, and this is completely winning for Black. Black has two passed pawns in the center, and Black has a queen and three pawns for two rooks. I would do this if I was White, because alternative is worse. Jan didn't do that. He played a3. And also in this position, instead of taking this and losing, he could play queen d5. Now, f takes e6 actually doesn't win, but queen b6 wins, threatening queen b2 mate. And if you trade queens, then this double rook ending is Black is two pawns up. White's pawn structure is ridiculous. And if you play b3, we can play queen a6, queen f2, threatening mate. A4's forced, queen e2, threatening mate. The best White can do is queen d4, stopping rook b2, then take, and Black is two pawns up and has total domination of the position, +5 for Black. So instead he played a3, queen c4 is the best move, threatening checkmate again, and if you take the bishop, then I take on c2, and this is probably the best White can do. And then White can go into this completely lost endgame. Rook here, and these pawns are weak. Black's up a pawn. Black has the c-file. And this is the best that White can do. Jan didn't defend well. He played b3, queen c5, and now Black is up a pawn with a mating attack. White has no attack. Rook c1, queen takes, Black's up two pawns. h4, here comes the brilliant White attack. Rook c5, rook f1, and in this position, Black played a move I would never consider, and White resigned. Equally brilliant move to what Black did is rook c2. And this is also winning. But what Fabi did was better. Bishop takes b3, and you can see Jan didn't use much time this game. I think after knight takes e4, he just gave up and was playing quickly. In this position, White resigned. Obviously, Black's threatening mate. It doesn't matter which way you take on b3. I'm taking with the rook. So we get the same position. So this position is going to occur whether you take with the pawn or the knight, you just take with one, then the other, and we get this position. And if you play the move king a1, then rook c4, followed by rook a4 is curtains, and I'm sure rook c2 is the same thing. And if you play queen b2, I check. The king has to go to the a file, and then rook a5 check leads to mate. So after bishop takes b3, there's nothing more for white to do, and Jan resigned. So a brilliant game, nice easy win for Fabi with black, and now Fabi once again is fighting for first place with Firouzja. Let me see what the standings are. Firouzja has 4 out of 6, and Wesley So, Fabi have 3.5. MVL, Gukesh, Ding, and Praggnanandhaa have 3. And Norderbeck, Jan, and Giri have... Norderbeck and Jan have 2.5. Giri's in 10th place with 3. I thought Giri was going to win. Giri was winning, and then he didn't win. What? I thought Giri was going to win this game. Giri was definitely winning. Let's see. The last position I saw was knight f3, and white is completely winning. g5 doesn't make a lot of sense when you could play knight takes e5. I've noticed Giri isn't very incisive lately. He plays a lot of boring moves when there's winning moves. Knight takes e5 is just obvious. And c3 is a mistake. Now white is +4, it says. Rook a5 just doesn't make any sense. Why would you play rook a5? I mean, if you want to win the pawn, you could play rook a3. Rook a5 is winning. I don't understand the move. Knight f3 pinning your own knight is ridiculous. Every king move is better, but king f4 is the most winning. Yeah, now white's probably not even winning anymore. Your g4 is threatened. King f2 is forced. And knight d4 gives away the win. Knight e1, still good winning chances for white, it says. Now there's no winning chances for white. Knight g6 is a mistake. We can just take the pawn on d3. Knight's terrible on c2. Rook f3 check was better. Yeah, it's just a comedy of errors. When I was younger, people could play chess well. Truth hurts. People just aren't as strong as they used to be. Chess players got weaker, and then they repeated. It's just a terrible game. But Giri should definitely won. Giri's having a tough year. Giri can't do anything right in 2024. Maybe 2025 will play better. Seems like he's lost his confidence. Anyway, if you're watching, Anish, you should submit some games for our Sunday. You could sub to the channel, submit on Discord, and I can make fun of you as much as I make fun of everybody else, and deservedly so. This looks like my favorite game from this event, deservedly versus So. So just terrible, and I hope you're ashamed. Yeah, very bad play. Basically, if you're as weak as these players, don't analyze your game with an engine, because you'll see how bad you are. All right, let's see. Who am I going to raid? I raided Nemsko yesterday. Nobody that plays chess is streaming that I follow. Terrible. Yeah, this game was played in the Sinkfield Cup today. Okay, well, I guess you get raided again, even though you're still not playing chess. Truth hurts. Yeah. Well, that's Karen's account, and I can still raid with Karen's account. That's good. All right. Tomorrow I have a class. I think it's on the Kali, I think. And then I'll see you guys on the stream on Tuesday. Tomorrow, I'm recording a perpetual podcast with Ben Johnson. I'm not sure when it'll be published, Usually takes them a few days to a week. Okay, bye everybody.